Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to share with you, as I'm going through this process leading up to the North American Championships, kind of my thought process and a vulnerable spot that I've hit in training, and I want to share with you all the precautions that I'm taking to save myself from a prior mistake that I made leading up to nationals in this past February. Right? So, in order to explain this, I need to set up what training looks like. And if you've been powerlifting for a while or trying to peak for a meet before, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So, about 2 weeks before a competition is when I personally have my heaviest lifts. Right? It's my top squat, my top deadlift, and then usually my second heaviest bench that I'm going to hit prior to a meet. Along with this, it is also the moment in time where my fatigue is going to be at its highest, and I know this. So after years of going through this process, I know exactly what to expect. I know that 2 weeks out, I'm going to feel terrible, and I'm going to have a heavy day. So mentally, all of my focus is on that heavy day. I have to make it perfect. Execute that day. And what can happen is you have this giant lead up to the heavy day 2 weeks before training. And then once that heavy day is passed, the expectation in your mind, or at least in my mind at times, is, I can breathe a sigh of relief, and then it's rest time until the meet. And if someone were to talk to me in the gym or on the street about what was going on in training, they may think that I'm legitimately taking 2 weeks off of training because of how I talk about it. And I say, my heaviest day of training is 2 weeks out. Or this is my heaviest day of training, and then it's downhill to the meet. In their head, they might think, right, train really heavy, and then it's 2 weeks to get to the meet of doing nothing. And that's the trap I want to warn you all about, is at this point, I've passed that heaviest day, I'm finished, but you have to keep it in mind. You are most vulnerable in just after that heavy day, and you still have training to do. So I'm someone, I saw my week of training this week. I'm strong enough at this point where even the light days are kind of heavy. So I had to accept, we still have another week of work to do. And if you're not careful, so leading up to nationals this past February, I made a mistake. I hit the heavy day, that was a Saturday. Sunday's rest day. Monday came in. I had triples, I believe, at just over 600 pounds on pause squats, I think. Right? It was some variation of squat. Because I was so hyper focused on the heaviest day of training, once it was over, I let my guard down just enough. And here's the thing. If you're really fatigued going into the heaviest day of training, you're going to be more fatigued in the days after, right? Because the heavy day of training is behind you even more. There's been no rest time. So that Monday, okay, and that's the footage that I'm showing for you here. That's my current Monday. But that day, couple days after, is dangerous because, one, you're extra fatigued, the most fatigued you'll be, and your focus might be down. And if your focus gets down, you might do something that you'll regret. An example, leading up to nationals, that Monday, I rushed a walkout, right? Trying to get sets done quickly. I was strong enough to do it. The bar got stuck in the rack, twisted me, right? Mind you, it was still over 600 pounds, even though it wasn't like a heavy weight for me. But with a tight belt on, slipped a a rib, separated a rib out of its place. Now, I didn't know that at the time, but I remember distinctly walking away from that session, and what it felt like was I had done an ab workout, right? I was just distinctly sore here. I was sore to stretch or arch my back or anything for bench. And I just remember thinking, that's weird. But in my mind, I could rationalize it. Oh, I've got 2 weeks to rest. Well, comes around, 8 days left before competition, that Saturday, last heavyish training session, and it really hurt. I've described it in past videos, you can check those out. It felt like someone was punching me in the gut to brace my belt for a squat because of that. And it all came down to lack of focus and rushing a walkout that I've done thousands of times before and not gotten injured. But it was that perfect storm of fatigue going like this. Focus goes up, but after that 14 days out, took a spike down because in my head I was like, all the hard work's done, right? So fatigue's high, focus is low, that's where mistakes happen, and that's where injuries happen. And that's exactly what happened to me, right? And had I gone in and taken that day more seriously, okay, and made every walkout perfect, I could have avoided that whole issue. Now, in the end, it didn't matter about winning nationals, which was great, right? And I wouldn't do anything differently. This is not an excuse for that. But it cost me an attempt at the Carpino, right, to make it on the national team for Worlds. And instead, I didn't get to go, and that's on me because of this mistake. Now, how I'm rectifying it is, as you can see hopefully in this footage that's in the back of this video, even though the heavy work is done, I'm making every set perfect, right? Perfect walkout, perfect brace, everything. Okay, and it might feel terrible because I'm fatigued. That's totally okay. It's to be expected, right? But that's what you've got to do, right? Do not make the same mistake that I did and let your guard down 10 days out, 8 days out, 12 days out, whatever, from competition, right? Take it just as seriously. I know the fatigue can get tough mentally, but push past it and keep that motivation high all the way through, no matter how hard it is. Okay, so that's all I wanted to convey for you all today. Please let me know down below, do you feel that same letdown? Do you have that day that you know is going to be the heaviest day of training and then there's a lull between the meet? I'm curious if that's just me or you all. Comment down below. As always, like and subscribe if you haven't. And until next time, happy lifting.